Right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third day of CoinFest 18. That was pause for suspense. So this is Joe from Crown. He's going to talk to us about his project's cloud-based application platform, cryptocurrency. There's a whole bunch of things in one, so round of applause for Joe from Crown, please.
Yeah, my name is Joe, again, Crown Platform, and I'm the head of communications. So we'll just get started. We're trying to build what we would like to, the way that I like to describe it is basically that it's a decentralized, self-regulated sandbox ecosystem or sandbox economy. Basically, there's a series of businesses once the platform is fully released that are going to be operating on the platform and connected to the community and to the ecosystem through an API and through the blockchain. So we're trying to build a system that enables startup companies to leverage blockchain technology and use everything that it can offer. So I'm going to start with a little bit about Crown, and then Pedro here is building the first business that is going to be operating on the platform. He's going to discuss what he's building and then what Crown offers him. So I'm going to begin. Start. So Crown is basically offering a platform as a service for startups that want to use the blockchain. You can basically think of similar projects like Amazon, eBay, Airbnb that use the cloud as a service for startups. So currently our transaction time is about 100 transactions per second, but with the new consensus mechanism that we're going to be releasing the next few months, we expect it to scale to something similar to PayPal, which will be thousands or millions, but they're still testing to see exactly what that will look like once everything is released. Okay. So what projects are using the platform for is going to be identity. Businesses need to make sure that they're operating on a legally compliant, transparent system. This isn't going to be for totally anonymous, decentralized applications. We're basically looking for businesses that want to be legally compliant, operating under basically the state's regulations and laws and operate in that way. Asset registration, this could be for things like real estate, cars, any sort of items that need to be registered to the blockchain. And again, identity registration. So like we'll have democratically elected agents that are elected through our governance system. And applications, they can be pretty much anything that can be operated as a cloud business that can be connected basically using the API. All of that is governed by Crown stakeholders, so people that have master nodes and a second layer that hosts these applications called system nodes. So registration. We think anonymity is an important tool for a lot of blockchains, and we're not totally opposed to that, but that's not something that we're trying to solve. We're trying to build a transparent ecosystem of businesses that want to operate on the platform, so it limits what businesses can be operating on our platform, and Pedro will discuss that a bit for how that impacts him as a business. So anyone can basically get elected as an identity verifier through the governance system, but the hope and the anticipation is that a lot of businesses that are already offering these services will integrate onto the Crown platform to do this. So we don't, we're not going to be providing identity registration through the platform. It's going to be done by actors that are operating on the platform and are elected to do so. So that'll be KYC, yeah, credit checks. Again, it can also offer a lot of things as far as legislation and what are legal contracts that businesses will also be leveraging. So currently, our governance system does a few different things. The first thing is the budget distribution. So we have right now 43,200 Crown per month to distribute to different projects. So what that means is that depending on what a single Crown token is worth, the more it's worth, the more power we have to fund different projects. So anyone can write to the network and get funding to do pretty much anything. So that could be a business can write to the network and ask for funding, and if they get the votes through the network, they can get started, operate through the network, get help from our developers who are looking to help successful businesses get started on the platform. Our sponsorship of this conference was funded through the proposal system, so it can really be anything. Any sort of projects that the community, the stakeholders want to fund can be paid through the governance system. Assigning roles, so those actors, those agents that are providing identity registration are voted on through the governance system. And those can also be, one problem that we're anticipating in the future as more and more proposals are coming to the network is that, that we're already seeing is that there's tons of proposals and not everyone that has a stake in the network can't necessarily keep up with all of them. So we're going to be implementing a sort of liquid democracy in which stakeholders can delegate their voting rights to agents that will vote for them. So, similar to what we're all already used to. Core team positions, so people that are developers, people that do communications, my job, anyone on the team's job can basically be voted on through the governance system. And electing agents as well. Technical decisions, so protocol, so like if we want to make a major change to the consensus mechanism or any sort of direction that the platform is going to take, that can all be voted on by the community. So we're very much focused on being a community-driven project with limited centralization. So the hope is that the people that have a stake in the network can decide every step of the way that we're going to take. So these are just a few examples of applications that can be built, but it's pretty much limitless, and we don't want to stick to a certain area or tell people what to build, really, because if it can be tied to the platform through the API, I mean, you can have like Pedro's building a tracking company, but it can be video games. You can offer any sort of service that can be merchandise, logistics, healthcare. If for logistics and healthcare you need that really sensitive information to be immutable, companies can use the blockchain to store that sensitive information, and then also use the blockchain as a payment service. So the options are pretty much limitless to what people want to build. So any application is going to be registered on the Crown blockchain, and they're hosted on these servers that I mentioned called system nodes. These system nodes are a second type of incentivized nodes like master nodes, if you guys are familiar with that were first implemented by Dash. And you get financially rewarded for hosting them. So by having a system node, you both get part of the block reward each time a block processes, but you're also hosting a business or application. So anyone that has a business on the Crown blockchain will need to run a system node. They don't necessarily need to have their own. If you have one and there's a company that approaches you that wants to have one, you can basically rent your computing power to them. All of the businesses that are going to be operated on the platform are verified. Their identities are verified. We want to make sure that it's a safe and secure platform for our customers, and also to make sure that we're complying with all sorts of all of the legal obligations that we'll have. Payment management. Any sort of business that are going to be operating on the platform will obviously need a way to accept payments, and that'll all be done through the Crown blockchain. Right now, we don't have any sort of issues with scalability, but once we have hopefully hundreds or even thousands of businesses on the platform, which is our long-term goal, we will need tons and tons of potentially thousands or millions of transactions per second to take place on the network. So that will all be done through the blockchain. And then at the end, signing user agreements. So smart contracts are a really important tool that we're going to need to have. But for now, we're mainly focused on providing legal contracts and allowing businesses that just need the blockchain and computing power on system nodes or servers. So for master nodes, they provide security, instant transactions. The network is secured by these master nodes, and master nodes are going to be doing basically the entire consensus mechanism in the future. So right now, we're still using traditional proof of work that Bitcoin uses, but in the coming months, we're switching over the consensus mechanism. So for legal contracts, that can all be stored on the blockchain through a hash. Basically, it'll be publicly accessible. Anyone can access these contracts and see when they were signed, and we can use that to ensure that they took place when they said they were, and that all the agreements are in place. So this is just a quick look at what the Crown platform is going to look like. Currently, we haven't released the platform aspect that basically everything I just described. So these are going to be coming in the next few months. We actually just a month ago released system nodes, and then a current release just made 2 weeks ago made basically setting all of these up much easier. You just don't need to look into that too much, but just a quick look on how everything is going to be organized. So GME is Pedro's company, and if you want to just talk a bit about it now, and then I can end it.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear it? Yeah? Okay. Good morning. My name is Pedro. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Jimmy. I'm going to show you a short video so you can see what Jimmy is and what Jimmy does and how we interact with Crown. And after the video, I'm going to talk briefly why we chose Crown, what advantage we gain from using Crown's application platform, and what line we're going to go. So let's start with the video.
One of the things that I really enjoy is taking my son for a nature walk. It helps us to get closer and brings back good memories. That's how I came up with an idea that goes one step further in the global safety concept. I consider myself lucky. After 2 hours of agony and a traumatic experience, I wouldn't wish it to happen to anyone else. And that's why we've developed the most powerful personal tracker, Jimmy. Jimmy will help you to keep your loved ones close. Jimmy is fully customizable. It can allow you to identify, track, and locate your loved ones. And it can also provide you with information that can be very helpful in critical situations. It's very easy. You can customize Jimmy from your profile page or directly from the app. Jimmy can be used by anyone or anything you want just by linking it from your profile page to the person, pet, or object you want to track. You decide what information is available depending on who is using it. This goes from contact number, address, blood type, allergies, diseases, etc. The QR code that is displayed on the Jimmy screen will allow people to access that information in case of an emergency. Just by pressing the integrated panic button, you can send out an SOS and record a message or talk with the person your Jimmy is linked to.
After 2 years of hard teamwork and a great partnership with the Crown community, we have finally achieved our goal. We have created a fantastic product that combines great technology, functionality, and design.
We want that you always carry Jimmy with you. That's why its design is simple and attractive.
It's a community-driven project where hundreds of people basically vote for what the code and the computer program, which Crown is, should look like, should do, what kind of improvements the code should have, and that's very important, that basically we are creating like a little democracy on the internet.
We have gone a step further with Jimmy, making it global, personalized, and easy to use.
Crown is a community-driven blockchain platform which enables to individuals and companies to have their profiles on a blockchain to go global.
Jimmy is a great example of how the blockchain technology can power the Internet of Things in everyday life.
Hi, I'm Pedro Ranz, CEO of Jimmy. Be the first one to enjoy Jimmy's full potential. Thank you. That's our introduction video. Okay, why did we choose Crown to partner up and to use their blockchain technology? After making our due diligence and looking at many blockchain projects, we had a look at Crown, and Crown was basically one of the few or the only one that could provide us with a fully transparent model. As you know, we are a real business operating under legal regulations. So Crown assured us that we could be fully transparent and comply with all the regulations that are established in our country and worldwide, and not incur in any shady business. Since you know the connection between blockchain and real use cases is still not going as fast as everybody would like to. So when our customers listen to blockchain, they might get a little bit scared. So the transparency that Crown offers us gives us like full ability to comply with any regulation. Also, what made us choose Crown is that they've been around since 2014. They have a very solid team. The developers know what they're doing. They have a very clearly defined roadmap, and that's very important for us because we cannot partner up with anybody that's not going to give us support and going to give us or supply us with an infrastructure we will need in the future. The two main key points we're going to use in the platform is use the application platform as an area to store all our data that is sent out from Jimmy. We need that safety to, we need that assurance that the data is immutable. So that's something that blockchain provides. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. Something that blockchain can provide us with is the immutability of the data we send out from our Jimmy devices. And another thing is that we will be able to globalize our business and make it available for anyone, since we are going to use also the payment structure or the payment system, which, as Joe said, is going to be very similar to PayPal, to the speed of PayPal. So this will allow us to make Jimmy accessible to anyone, anywhere, and subscribe to our service regardless where they are. We're going to be around later on at the main hall, so if any of you wants to see a little demo of the app or how the web, the back end works, more than happy to show you and to answer any possible questions or anything you might have. Now I go and give it back to Joe so he can finish off.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so basically that was the end of our presentation. So if you guys have questions or any comments or concerns about it, we'd both be happy to take some questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joe and Pedro. So does anyone have any questions for Crown or GME even? I've got a question. You were talking about, you built this around being regulatory compliant, right?
Yeah.
What about, how do you deal with all the different regulations? Or are you just focusing on the UK, or how's it going to work?
No, it's basically going to depend on where the system node, where the application is being hosted, and where they're offering services to. So if they're, they'll basically have to, it'll depend on where, so there's two sort of factors. They're going to have to comply with the state that the system node is hosted in, and then the customers that they're offering them to. So if you have your system node hosted in the UK and you're offering services to American citizens, you'll basically have to comply with both sets of laws. So it depends locally, but there's typically two sets that they'll have to comply with. Okay.
And do most world regulations just basically boil down to making sure you know your customer? Is that the bottom line?
No. Yes, that's a big part of it, but we don't want to have. People can host anything, through it, and we're basically giving them a registration when they have their identity verified. But you could potentially, we don't want to have people's hosting. You could have really bad stuff, like we don't want people hosting like child pornography services on the network. We want to be able to revoke those registrations. So KYC is really important, but there's also a lot of other things that come into it as well.
Yeah, so you need to intervene in an illegal circumstance like that. You need the power to kind of bring it back within the law, as it were.
Exactly, and then we can basically, we'll have their identities, and then we can give those over to law enforcement if they are offering, explicitly illegal services.
Sure. I can see that being like a push and pull in between your Ethereums of the world that like run unstoppable applications, which sounds great.
Right.
But that then it's a double-edged sword, because if it's completely permissionless, completely open to everybody, it's completely open to both the light and the dark side.
Yeah.
And on the other end, if you go the regulatory route, is slower, I would assume, because you have to make sure you can't develop it as quickly as you could with Ethereum, because it just go for it, right? Which has that other flip side. But with the regulatory approach, I suppose it's slower and steadier, but more certain that you're not going to get anyone coming down on you.
That's the hope, yeah, is that we can build a platform that complies and works with governments. We don't want to, of course, have them dictating the direction of the platform, be able to, really change the path that we want to go on, but we also aren't trying to butt heads with the government either.
Not intentionally, anyway.
Right.
Does anyone have any questions for Crown? There we go.
I've got a question regarding proposals and consensus.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with an imaginary situation that is bound to happen. I'll have a nice proposal. People will like it. People will vote for it. I'll get my crowns. And then I dump them and run away. So have you thought about this issue? And are there any safeguards in place in regards to proposal roadmaps, so to say, where the person who proposes something, they have to also maybe give a proof of that they've actually done what they proposed, and only then is the crown released to them?
Yeah, so that's a good idea, and I think that's something that we're not the only project with a proposal system. I think that's something that a lot of other projects are facing, where people will write proposals and aren't necessarily even malicious, but don't come through with what they've said they're going to do.
Dash suffers from this heavily, which is why I'm asking.
Right. So the plan is not to do anything explicitly governing that side of things. I think the hope is that the community will mature over time, and projects that get funded, we're hoping people are primarily going to be long-lasting community members. If funding does get taken, then it gets filled back up in the next super block anyway. It's not a life or death thing whether one proposal gets through or not, and then that person will never get funded again. We want to put in soft protocols, so things like that I think are a good idea. Basically give checklists and give the community things to think about as far as, has this person been a part of the community for a long time? Have they shown a record of being trustworthy and doing right by the community? Basically, telling them what they should be looking for in a good proposal. And if it doesn't go through, then basically, and we've already started to see this, is that a market develops, and the good proposals rise to the top. The ones that are not as good, with people that haven't been around as long, or haven't maybe wrote a proposal in the past but didn't come through with what they said they were going to do, they don't get funded again. So people are going to be very hesitant to giving a lot of money to someone that they don't know anything about. So I think that's more the direction that we're going to take.
Are you actually sure about people not giving money to someone they don't know? Because that's what we've been seeing throughout this whole year, with all these crazy even projects getting funded. I think that history shows us that people are bound to invest in absolutely retarded projects, and this. I can understand the positive reputation-based system that you're explaining here, but there have to be safeguards to the downside as well, in my eyes.
Yeah, again, if a single proposal fails, or someone does run off with the money, it's bad, but it's not a life or death thing for the project. And again, those funds will be recovered in the following super block. And the proposal system, every proposal system, even Dash, it's very early. It's only been, I think every project's proposal systems, the entire space will mature over time. I think, if it becomes necessary, and you're right, then that can come down to a proposal. Someone can write a proposal and say, hey, this system isn't working. And we've already seen that, where people have submitted proposals about the proposal system to change a part of it. So if that does become a problem, then we can implement a change.
Yeah, this is not entirely new territory, right? Because all we're talking about is a decentralized autonomous corporation, whatever you want to call it. Just like in traditional business, you have a budget, marketing budget, whatever it is, just like with treasury systems. And just like if you're going to hire a supplier you've never used you've never used before, they have the possibility of providing a poor service or whatever. Now, in the offline world, you have legal contracts in place if they don't perform and so on, right? But you just don't hire them again. With this stuff, Dash does have a problem with that. There's some quite big proposals that have had large funding and then not delivered. Whereas this is good because this teaches people basic business principles. So because I've been in business for like 10 years, when it came to submitting a treasury type proposal, I just treat the network like a business. So on the Cryptoverse podcast, which is what I do, I was like, right, I want to propose it gets sponsored by the network. So what I did was I actually made the ad spot, put it in 6 episodes of the podcast, and then when I submitted my proposal, I said, look, I've already done 6 for free. This is an example of the work you're going to get, and this is what I want, $3,000 a month to sponsor this many episodes, yada, yada. Now, that's how I would do it, whether it was a treasury from a network or whether it was a business. You provide the value first, demonstrate your reputation and your willingness to provide value, and that was the basis on which the proposal got funded, right? If I just went, sponsor the podcast, give me the money, and then, you know what I mean? And then once I'd got the proposal, it was a 3-month thing, I made sure that I over-communicated. So I was sending reports, updates, posting daily on the forum, saying this is how many views we got yesterday, boom, boom, boom. Because you're selling the invisible. So, and again, people who just want to take a bunch of money and that's fine, they can rip the network off one time. But in addition to that, the other thing I would advise people to do with these proposal systems is put in a small proposal to begin with. Right? I could have done here's 6 free episodes, now I want a 3-month sponsorship package. But I could also have done like, all right, I want $100 to sponsor it for a week or something. And then once I delivered that, the network's got more confidence. I submit another proposal, say, right, now give me a month worth of sponsorship, deliver, now 3 months, do you know what I mean? So it's just the same thing building any relationship. Do you think that's a fair crack? Yeah.
Absolutely, and as more proposals come through, that market sort of develops where one person makes a really great proposal like that, and then that becomes the new standard, and then people get a better understanding of what sort of proposals should get funded, and how people also follow that example for how they should make their own proposals. So
right. So eventually,
exactly.
once it gets to the point where you've got your regular suppliers that are all performing really, really well over the long term,
right.
Well, it's going to be harder and harder to get in there because the network's like, well, we've got this suite of 30 super reliable contractors that have been providing value for the last year. So you're going to have to come with a really strong proposal and with a big reputation, all the rest of it, to get funding, because now you're competing against 30 strong players. I suppose the only reason that's a problem is because in the beginning, there's more money than there is proposals. So those little proposals and those people without reputation can get funded initially, but as time goes on, the competition will just push them out.
That's true, but also as the network grows, the value of the token rises.
Good point. Budget gets bigger. Right.
So that, right, exactly. So then those people that have established proposals, assuming they're not increasing their workload, should then lower what they're asking for, which will allow more people to come in.
That's a good point, because $100 worth of crown today might be 10,000 in 5 years or whatever, right? So you have to readjust the amount you're getting.
Right. Exactly.
All right, cool. So I took up a lot of time there. Does anyone else have a question for Crown or GME? Yes, this gentleman over here.
Hi, I have a question with regard to your native payment currency. So I think both of you referenced the fact that you would like to utilize the Crown token as a means of payment, both for your Jimmy and just generally for your platform. So a problem that a lot of projects face and why a lot of projects don't use this kind of system is because of the price discovery, price fluctuation. So I was wondering how you are going to mitigate against balance sheet risk, transfer risk. So for example, if you're making a payment and the volatility is anywhere between, say, like anywhere above 10, then you're going to have problems because like everything from a business model which is working on profit margins of say 5% could automatically be liquidated within minutes if the volatility is too high. So, and as velocity in your system moves quicker, the price will move as well. So, to me, it just seems like the actual means of payment native to the platform, unless it is objectively pegged by an oracle to another stable currency, seems like it would be quite difficult to actually working as a native payment mechanism.
So I guess that's partially up to businesses to decide how they want to mitigate that risk. I don't know what you. Sure. Yeah.
You can stand real close if you want.
But yeah, I assume a lot of businesses will tie their costs to fiat. But he can speak to that.
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's actually a preoccupation, or say it in English, a concern to us. Obviously, that's why we will have both systems. We'll have normal fiat subscription service through any normal payment method like Visa card, PayPal, whatever. And on top of that, we will have the Crown service payment option that will be able to be done through Crown or through any cryptocurrency. But I think once we start fully integrating our product with the Crown platform is something that needs to be discussed with the develop team, how we're going to solve that problem due to volatility or to price changes, rapid price changes, and to ensure that the people that actually purchase our system get the best out of the exchange rate, so to say. So we don't incur any loss and they don't pay too much or less for the service. But it's a really big concern for us. It's a really good question. But it's not solved yet. Oh, thank you.
It's like this quick pit stop there. Anyone else have a question before we close? Anybody else? Follow-up questions? Going once? Going twice? All right, final round of applause for GME and Crown, please.
Thanks.